Wilson, what did you make of it? You were there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Argentina made it harder than it needed to be. The first half was pretty. They were a little bit diffident. I thought Argentina they didn't have the same aggression they had against Poland. And then I don't know if you noticed just before the goal that Beach had sort of just left one in on Messi, and Messi he misplaced like 3 passes in 5-10 minutes before that, and suddenly you saw, oh, you shouldn't have done that. and it was just where I was in the stadium. It was right beneath me where it happened. That the corners was a corner, or was it a free kick is cleared, and then Papagones plays actually a really bad pass out to him. And I was just turning to John Crossman Miller, who sat next to me, going, "That's a terrible pass." And then he thought, actually, his message doesn't matter. And actually, because the pass was so bad, it just drew Australia out. They thought they could get it, and he gives it to McAllister to Otamendi, whether that's a touch or whether he deliberately laid it off, well, that's just a poor first touch. And you'd see exactly the tunnel that Messi was going to run through from where I was sitting, and you sort of knew. I mean, probably half a second before it went in, but it felt inevitable for a while before that. They should have wrapped up easily in the second half, especially having gone 2-0 up. But there was that big chance when he ridiculous. And last time I saw a defence part like that was Chelsea if Nedderman knew it.
It was such an amazing moment, wasn't it? And it could have been an absolutely amazing goal, a brilliant tackle from Lisandro Martinez, actually.
Thank goodness. I mean, A for my book, B for the tournament, and C for my bedtime.
The 3 important things. Nicky, on the subject of Messi, Jamie says, why are they talking about a moment of brilliance? It was a bog standard turn and shot through a defender's legs. The keeper saw it late. Wasn't even the corner. Not everything he does is brilliant. That Marcela is frowning already. What do you think?
I don't think I agree with that, really, because it's not just the shot, is it? It starts with him taking the ball down so smoothly on the sideline. There's a really neat. Everyone was sharing on socials. There was a really neat fan shot, I think, angle from the sideline, which I always think I never understand people who sit inside a stadium and watch the game through a phone, because you're seeing the game right in front of you and seeing it through that camera, you're going to see it much worse. And I always think to myself, you're not going to get a better shot than the professionals do, but this person did perhaps get a better shot than the professionals do, because you see the ball come down and the way Messi brings it down, and I think just the way he sees that space and attacks it right away. It's not the greatest goal he's ever scored. He scored so many better. But I think this was his first knockout goal at a World Cup, which is kind of extraordinary when you think everything he has done in his career. So it was a moment. It was what the game needed, because I thought that first half, unlike the second half, which got quite interesting, the first half was quite short on incident, and I think it needed that a little bit to liven it up. But
when you began that with an SH, I thought it was going to be a much shorter phrase. 1,000 games for Messi, 789 goals. And actually, Marcela, by the end, Messi was purring, wasn't he?
It's exactly that. It didn't feel like it was happening, and we were watching him specifically here. And luckily, I will have hours more of entire programs devoted to just showing us the cameras on Messi for the rest of the evening. But I thought, oh, he's slouching again, and he's standing in the middle. He's just looking around. Oh dear. And then it's almost like he was drawing that route in his head. So I completely agree with Nick. It wasn't the shot, it was the entire build up to it, which completely changed the dynamic of the game. And after that, he was plugged in, and people were, everyone was kind of messaging each other, and here we're going, oh yes, he's plugged in. I think my brother screamed, he's an angel. And it was just a totally demented amount of praise. But I do think it was intelligent playmaking. It wasn't that the shot is brilliant because everything Messi does is brilliant. It's because you could just literally see his mental process along with his physical decisions. It's just the most fantastic football ever. I wish it just lasted that long and then that was it, because it becomes slightly agonizing when it goes on and on without such brilliance, consistently held.
Well, so was this Argentina being tournament savvy and sort of just doing enough, or are they not as good as we perhaps suggested they were before the tournament began?
There is something odd that they come into the tournament in the back of a 36 game unbeaten run, and yet it kind of feels like they're making up as they go along now. And this team obviously is pretty similar, apart from Di Maria, to the Poland team. So I think they've got that midfield right now. But I mean, they should have won this easily. Lautaro Martinez misses those 2 chances. There's a whole load of chances. The Australian goal was a freak, and that obviously changed the game. So it could easily be 2 or 3-0, and we just said that was just sort of a team playing at 7 out of 10, not overextending themselves. Yeah, I guess you could also say Australia gave them the second goal. I don't know if you read Jorge Valdano's column in El País this week, but there's a classic Valdano column complaining about how football's bureaucratic these days, and there's no sort of imagination or flair or magic in the opposition box. And he made a very good point that teams now take more risks in their own box than the opponent's box, and that's exactly what causes the goal. There's no need once Beach is under pressure. There's no need to keep playing it back. Just get rid of it.
I mean, I'm all in favour of getting it launched. And there were just times. Actually, Australia actually kept the ball really well at the back for long. There was this period in the first half, Nicky, and I was like, this is weird. Australia were sort of dominating. Okay, the ball's in their half, mainly in their box, but they really Argentina aren't pressing at all. Like nothing is happening.
Yeah, I mean, to pick up on what Jonathan just said about the team being quite settled, because you mentioned Di Maria there as the one thing that was different, Jonathan. I think that was quite fundamental, actually. I think so far in this tournament, a lot of the play has gone down through Maria on the right-hand side. And it felt like in this game, they were trying to sort of flip it and have Gomez be the more advanced sort of wing for a little while. And that wasn't really working, because that does have a knock-on impact. Messi's used to receiving the ball from the right-hand side. He's used to having the ball come from that side. And then Gomez ended up switching sides. And I don't know, I thought that the absence of Di Maria was quite impactful. And it's interesting to me, and even that's where the space Messi ends up taking the ball from for that goal, is he takes it from that right-hand side where perhaps there might have been someone else if Di Maria had been there. But I think in terms of the second half, Max, I don't know, I felt like Argentina retreated far too quickly into this is under control and we're just going to see it out. It just felt like, I mean, certainly with the substitutions when they came in, when Gomez goes off, not that Gomez is having a great game, that was at 1-0, and you're taking off a forward and going to a back three, which becomes a back five, which feels very sort of, I don't know, with all respect to Australia, I guess, like it feels like you're Argentina. Is that really the line you're taking in the 50th minute?
Well, they did do that in the last two games as well.
Di Maria was not going to start. We heard that earlier today because he's not super fit, and there was a kind of sense of panic. And in fact, my sister, who is my companion in football life, was just mumbling around the kitchen, furiously going, "Who's going to be on the right?" But we thought Papa Gomez was much better than we had expected. I certainly did. But then he also got hurt. That's what the commentary said here, that he asked to come off because his sprained his ankle. So I'm more worried about the fitness generally, because I think the philosophical idea that the Scalonetta has is that everyone can do everything and you can just switch in and switch out. And I think when Lautaro came on, it did feel like maybe some new energies coming in and they all know what they're doing. But clearly that's not quite as achievable. And there are some players that are better suited than others to do stuff. It's worked today. I mean, I'd love to know from Valdano what he would do if to prepare for the Netherlands. And I'm worried because they're all the things that they're all the combination of everything we've had so far in one. They're young and they're tall and they're fast and they're probably much more kind of savvy, because it did feel like this was slightly accidental. I mean, the Poland game felt sometimes more under control. I think today there were more beautiful, flary moments. And so in that sense, Argentina's perhaps improving a little bit in each performance, but not for long enough, just for bits.
Wilson, could you act as the proxy for Jorge Valdano, since he's not on this pod, about whether Argentina should fear the Netherlands? We'll talk about their win in just a second, but you do sense actually that is a tighter game than perhaps I would have thought it was even before these two matches.
Oh, yeah. I'm really looking forward to that. I think that'll be a great game. I wouldn't want to call a winner. I mean, I actually thought, I agree with Nicky that that retreat happened too early, but I also think that wasn't a result of going to the back three. I think that was a mental thing that happened after that. I actually thought the first 10-15 minutes with the back three was probably the most under control Argentina had it. And I think it was just getting an extra body in the middle. The other impact of that, though, was that the Australian fullback suddenly had space. They didn't have direct opponents. They could advance a bit more, and they had space before they were hitting the Argentinian wing backs, which is what allows Beach that run. But then again, if you're letting a 31-year-old from Dundee United run at you, and that's the biggest threat, maybe that's a risk you take.